Welcome to Guided, your weekly sanctuary where we blend the wisdom of the Enneagram with the art of intentional living. I'm your host, Evie, and you're so welcome here. Guided is all about helping you, the modern woman, find your flow in a world that's often all hustle and no heart. Whether you're navigating a career pivot, diving into creative pursuits, or just figuring out how to take better care of yourself, Guided is here to support you. This podcast is like a weekly chat with a good friend, one who's passionate about making your life feel good. At Guided, we believe in living with intention, fostering emotional well-being, and finding joy in the everyday. We tackle the big stuff like overthinking, setting boundaries, and avoiding burnout, all while keeping it real and relatable. Think of this as your go-to spot for practical tips, soulful conversations, and a reminder to break free from the grind. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. Thank you for choosing to make Guided a part of your weekly ritual. If you're ready to step into a life of intention and empowerment, then hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Guided. If we've never met before, hi, my name is Evie. I am your self-appointed online big sis and I'm thrilled that you're here. Today is pretty special. We have our first ever guest episode. We have got Jena Ocean, Joy Play. If you know her through Instagram, we've got Jena joining us for a really beautiful, expansive, crazy episode. Guys, this is my first time. This is the first guest episode I've recorded. Since then, I've recorded a lot more. There's lots to come, you guys. But Jena is kicking us off. And so the audio, I believe you're going to hear a bit of a shift from this moment to the next in a few moments' time. The audio is not perfect. I'm not entirely sure why that is, and I just wanted to kind of head that off at the beginning of this episode. I'm learning, I'm growing. I'm sorry that isn't awesome. I think Jena sounds amazing. That's the most important thing. I don't know what's going on with my microphone. This is a big episode, you guys. One, it's long, and two, you're going to be learning a lot. Also a lot about me. If you didn't know, I have a background in the church. I kind of grew up in the church and I thought I would always be a part of the Christian church. I thought I would always work for church, and I don't. And so I share a little bit about that in this episode. If you're interested, I will do a whole episode on that. But I just wanted to let you know that Jena is joining us today. Go grab yourself a big fat cup of tea. And I'm delighted to have had Jena on the podcast and to be sharing this conversation with you. I think you'll find it super duper special. So without further ado, I will play mine and Jena's conversation. Enjoy. Hi guys, and welcome back to Guided. If this is your first time here, I'm delighted that you're joining us for this very, very special first time ever podcast with a guest. That's right, Guided now has beautiful, wonderful guests from all around the globe, and kicking us off is none other than Jena Ocean. You might have come across Jena online. She's kind of a big deal, you guys. She's the face behind Joy Play and the host of the Little Ritual podcast. She believes revolution begins with micro communities of people reconnecting to ancestral ways and the land. Whether through Instagram reels or witchcraft retreats, Jena is on a mission to reignite awe and wonder for those who are longing for spiritual fulfillment. She dwells in New England with her husband. Jena Ocean, welcome to Guided.
Thank you. It is a magical thing to be here.
I'll take it. Yes, I love that. Glorious. Yeah. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling good. My mind just went through the process of the fact that, so I listen to your podcast, I listen to it every time it comes out on my drive to work.
You do?
It's my companion. It keeps me grounded. And then I subsequently send you more voice messages than anyone ever asked for of my thoughts, because I'm sure they're very important to your work. I'm so sure that they are.
They are, yes.
And I was just thinking, I was like, oh my God, now I'm going to miss one because it's going to be me on it.
Jena, that's so funny. Jena actually does send me voice notes after every single podcast episode, and it really means the world to me. It's wonderful. Me and Jena have actually never met in real life. We connected about 2 years ago through our work. Basically, I saw this wonderful stranger online, and I thought, yes, I think that's a friend. I think we might need to connect. And so, yeah, we've never met, but I would say we hold a kind of deep sisterhood between us, on the two sides of the ocean. And that is nuts. So we are in each other's lives quite a lot, and we've been in each other's work a little bit. And it's only right to have you on the podcast, mainly because you might be Guided's #1 fan with the amount of feedback that you give. So thank goodness you're here.
Thank goodness. I adore that. I do. And actually, it's a little more than that. And it's cute because I think we both fangirled over each other. Yeah. Because the first time that I heard of you was on Sarah Jane Case's podcast, Enneagram and Coffee. And so I'm just like, here's this famous British woman, like, who knows so much. And so when I found you, I was like fangirling. And then you told me you were kind of fangirling. And now we're in this, like you said, beautiful friendship. So very grateful.
Yeah, me too. Big fangirl over here, for sure. And speaking of, Sarah Jane Case's podcast and a little bit of the Enneagram, Jena, could you tell us a little bit about your Enneagram type and kind of what that means to you?
Yeah, totally. So I am an Enneagram type 7. I think my wing, I'm an 8 wing, got it, so yeah. I was like, well, it might be, it could balance with the 6, but no, I definitely have an 8 wing. And so I'll trace it back to like when I learned about that. Learning about the Enneagram and reading for the first time what a 7 was a really pivotal moment in my life. My mom had just died, and I was living in the house of actually the spiritual director at my school and her big family. So I'm living in this little side apartment on their beautiful New England house, tucked into a bed. Very vulnerable moment of my life, And she pulled out the road back to you, I think.
Yeah.
I went to a Christian college, so, Enneagram was the archetypal test accepted within the Christian world.
For sure.
And she was like, okay, here's this thing. It gives you a number 1 through 9. And I'm a 3. And this is what that means. And you can look through and see if any of them are fitting to you. And so I looked through each one and I got to 7. And I know everyone says this, but I was like just shocked because it fit me so well. And seeing something reflected back to me like that was a really powerful door for me into self-discovery and world discovery. So yeah, I'm a 7. I'm a textbook 7. It's hard to... Every other month I'm like, maybe I'm a 4 though. Or maybe I'm a 3. And then I'm like, no. Very much a 7.
Yeah, a beautiful, wonderful, expansive 7. Thank goodness that you are a 7. We need that 7 energy. We need it so, so desperately in the world. And actually, the work that you're doing, I wonder if perhaps it wouldn't be as impactful without that beautiful 7 soul that you have. The way that you're able to capture so many people and kind of hold them in that. It feels very 7 in that 7 spaciousness, expansiveness way that only a 7 can be. And sometimes type 1's on a good day when they're growing and learning, which is my type, of course. Jena, that's a beautiful description. And wow, what a really pivotal and, like you said, vulnerable moment to discover such a rich archetypal doorway, as you said. Yeah, that I don't think I knew that. That's, hugely powerful. Hugely powerful. I have a little bit of a confession at this point to everybody listening that I have asked Jena probably about 27 questions in preparation for this podcast because I've never knowingly underprepared for my job because I'm a type 1. And
I'm doing a bowing motion.
When I sent them through, Jena was like, I'm going to need to go and journal about that. So I'm going to read from my really expansive notes and actually follow through with what I set out for us to talk about.
Can I say 2 quick things about your oneness?
Please.
One is I loved the notes, and okay, I get a familiar feeling with all of my friends that are ones, and it's actually just you and one other person. And that other person, quick side note, Evie, is the girl that I thought was an 8. And then I messaged you, and you're like, that feels like 1 energy. Since then, her and I have had this like month-long journey of discovering she's a 1.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Add me to the group chat.
I know. I actually, oh my God, yeah, I actually will. Anyway, but something that I love, a very familiar feeling about 1s for me is that I am like overwhelmed with really well done either research or questions. Like I feel like you guys are amazing question askers. So I really did appreciate those notes. I forget my number 2, classic. Yeah.
I think you did the 2. Cause
sure.
That's very kind. That's very kind of you to say that. I am such a huge fan of your work, Jena, obviously. And, you know, we have this kind of shared kind of background in our kind of home faith tradition in that both you and I kind of at a pivotal time in our adolescence, early 20s, were super duper involved with the Christian church, with the evangelical church, perhaps is a label we could put on it. If anybody's listening, you know, I think both me and Jena used to sing like Hillsong and, you know, Bethel, and we used to rock out to that.
I was leading it, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Worship leader.
Yeah, come on. Of course you were. And I was on the welcome team.
Yes.
and the student team, and making sure everybody's home groups were running really well. And
I bet you did that so well.
Anyway. I really tried. And so a lot of your work is massively influenced through your deconstruction and perhaps reconstruction into the fullness of your spiritual walk. Does that feel true?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool. So with your work kind of revolving around sparking that spiritual transformation, you know, through play, through healing ancestral wounds, through expression, can you share a little bit about what that looks like in practice? How did we go from leading Hillsong in a church to, you know, igniting revolution in a quite a big way online through paganism and witchcraft?
Yeah. I think the short answer, which I'll elaborate on, is asking questions and feeling safe enough in my body to allow there to not be an answer.
We just have to hold that moment there. If you have ever deconstructed, and perhaps this is super niche, maybe people are listening to this and, you know, don't have a connection to, you know, a specific faith tradition, but if you are similar to me and Jena, hold what she just said now, catch it, because that is gold, that is gold, that is gold. Feel safe enough in your body with the answer. Wow, 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 wow. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm just going to let you keep on talking now, and just sit in awe.
Well, I think that's the thing, Evie, is that like everyone actually, I hope, can relate to deconstruction, even if you haven't had a religious background at all, because I think a common misconception is that deconstruction is this one-time thing that the crazy, I don't know, a lot of people say like the crazy, you know, liberals have forced people into deconstruction as this one thing that happens, this one moment in time where all of a sudden I am flipping off God and piercing my nose, you know, which also, love that vision. Let's also do that. That's important to express. But what really deconstruction is just it is just asking questions of the preconceived ideas you've been given. And I think that this is a crossover of our work with like, I see you entering the Enneagram from this perspective of like, why do you do the things that you do? And what has been inherited and what is actually true to who you are and can be more in alignment. And I think we've all inherited beliefs. And so we all have, hopefully, as we grow and develop, have unraveled some of those and realized that, that's not actually for me. Like, all power to you, mom and dad. Like, that, thanks for the road markers, but I have my own path to follow.
Yeah. Wow. I love that.
Thank you. And I just to like round out an answer to your question of what it looks like practically, besides asking questions and feeling safe in your body, or rather to go deeper into that. I think that finding tools is so important. I think we're all just sea otters out in the ocean looking for our rocks to be able to smash open sea urchins on our belly. And the sea urchins on our belly are like, I see now I went too deep into this metaphor, but I do think that it's important to find different tools, and there are many ways to go about that.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what tools you use, maybe kind of specifically that are helpful to you as a type 7? I'm just thinking of other 7s that are listening. I'm thinking of type 1s that are wanting to maybe dip their toe in this, who have that, matrix to the 7. I'm thinking of type 5s. I'm thinking of 8s and 6s as well. I'm thinking of anyone who wants to start a revolution.
So I use a lot of tools, probably because I'm a 7. When I try something and I figure out how it works, I'm like, that's enough. And I throw it back into my shelf to find a new one. As opposed to probably other types who are like, I found this tool, like a 5. I'm going to spend the next 2 years of my life figuring out how to master this and all of the decoding of it. That's not really my style. I try something, throw it back, and then I'll come back to it and sort through the pile that I've created behind me. But one thing that I haven't actually shared anywhere, I don't think.
Whoa, exclusive here on Guided.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, because I've been thinking about it a lot, and I definitely don't want to gatekeep it. I think it's really powerful. When I first got my Reiki certification, the person that I was doing that with, the first thing that she made us do was create a Reiki room inside our head. And so this is a mental space that is safe, that is yours, that you construct. And it's a bit hard to describe, but once you do the basics of it, and, she walks us through like, okay, we're in breath work, and it's like, where's your setting? What do you see? Do you see trees? Do you see a waterfall? How do you feel? Like, does it feel exciting? Does it feel safe? And you look to your left and there's a beautiful doorway. And this doorway is made just for you, And you walk through and you look through the doorway and you found this home and hear the sounds of the home. And you're walking through the sensory experience. I'll say going into it, I was quite skeptical that I would end up with a home in my head. But sure enough, by the end of it, I had this strong imagery of this safe space within myself, like, that I could enter into. And that is actually something that is a muscle that I use almost every day, like, is using breath, coming into a space. And then I have like my own secret, handshake with the house to get in. And it changes. It's interesting because every time I go in, it's a little bit different. And whatever I'm seeing it reflects back to me something happening in the subconscious that maybe I'm not aware of. Like, one time I came in and there was a huge tree growing through the center of the house, like huge oak tree or something. And I was like, oh my God, when did that happen? And that imagery helps me to start digging into what might be happening on a subconscious level. Like, sometimes I go in and there are various animals there. And because I work with spirit animals and have my deck spirit animals, like, I'm familiar with the imagery and like the feeling that it gives. And so then I have these like internal family members that are in the animal kingdom as well. And so that's one of my tools.
Wow, 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 wow. I love it. I love it. Even as you were describing, the internal house, it felt so peaceful. How beautiful. I'm also just thinking as well, because I think I've heard you say, and if I'm wrong, we'll cut this. But I think I've heard you say that Reiki is really similar to experiencing the Holy Spirit. And like if we look at those two kind of experiences, there's perhaps some overlap or some crossover. And I'm thinking of those who are listening who maybe are still, church goers. Their deconstruction, reconstruction maybe hasn't looked quite like yours and mine, and the thought of things like Reiki maybe sounds scary or unknown, because of course, perhaps it did for both you and I as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little while ago now. Just wondering if you could speak on that, because I think your perspective is really interesting as a worship leader and also a Reiki practitioner.
Yes. So I'll start by saying, sometimes I want to say, I was right where you were, but then I think about it and I'm like, that is not good news to them, because they don't want to end up like me. I didn't, there's a song, this beautiful song that's like, I think it's called You Might Not Like Her by Maddie Zame. You've probably heard it, Evie. And if you haven't, you'd love it.
Okay.
And the main part of it is like, if you would have told me I'd throw away my purity ring at an airport, my younger self would laugh. She would never believe that. It's against everything we stood for. And the whole chorus is, you might not like her for a little bit, but I do, the person that you've become. So I'll start by saying that.
That makes me want to cry. I'm sorry for butting in again. There are tears in my eyes right now, because that's so true, right? 21-year-old Evie would be terrified of 29-year-old Evie, concerned for her, and being sat here now in this body, I couldn't be happier to be where I am. And the safety that I feel within my body is exponential compared to 21-year-old Evie. And so that is emotional. I'm also day 5 of my period, so we've got some high emotion anyway.
If you haven't heard, have you heard that song, Evie?
No, I don't think so. It's the first thing I'm doing after we finish recording today.
We'll get ready to absolutely weep.
Okay.
Yeah, but just to give an example, so my mom really struggled with mental health. And one time when I was deep in my evangelical moment, we went to a restaurant and our waitress offered to my mother to give her Reiki, and that she was a Reiki person and they could do an appointment. And I just, right when she walked away, I leaned over as if it was life and death, Evie. And I was like, Mom, I need to say this. I don't think you should do that. I think that is from the devil. And my mom was like, I knew you were going to say that. So I've been there, Yeah. But here's what I'll say. Reiki was so refreshing to me because I already knew how to do it it's just deep listening. And it's deep listening, and it's trusting that God or spirit, it can be channeled through you. And but the beautiful thing about Reiki is that there is no agenda. And so that is a huge relief to me, and I hope that can be a relief to some people listening, is if you've ever prayed for someone in that energy, not all prayers the same, just not all conversations are, but I think a lot of us that were in the church know that energy of I need to pray in this specific way so that this person will know Jesus, or this person will convert, whatever it is, and that pressure, it warps the message and it warps the energy. But with Reiki, I think it's so lovely, and it's been a real challenge to me, is that you have to let go of attachment to all the outcomes, because you actually don't know how the energy Reiki's just channeling energy from source, how that's going to land in someone, and you don't know what is best for them. Like, and it really eliminates the savior complex issue that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
And you're not their savior, and you're not even their healer. You're literally just another human being there to channel energy through you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's nice. It's relaxing. It's not... Yeah, it's not pressure. The more that you can release expectations and stuff, the better results that you get.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, because I think the first time I heard you talk about that, that was just maybe really helpful, thinking about conversations with, friends or family members who haven't deconstructed. It's just so much overlap in terms of kind of experiences. Like right now, we're just coming up on Lent, 40 days and 40 nights. It's also 40 days of Venus retrograde. And they line up
right.
perfectly. And that, that's just really interesting, right? That's pretty wild. And that can be sometimes, I think, really interesting to kind of detach from the monotheism of life and start to see life through the maybe 7 lens of spaciousness and expansiveness that, lots of things can kind of coexist next to each other. Maybe they're all the same thing. We're just using a different name,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even that is a huge step for people in deconstruction. And for myself, is stepping away from black and white thinking feels really scary, because the black and white, it just gives structure. And in this world of chaos, I really understand why people are fundamentalists. But also, I believe in my soul that everyone feels spirit wanting to come and sort of bring breath of new life in. So also, I'm sorry, but can we just talk about the sun streaming in? What
it's
on
wild.
earth?
I'm
like
a rainbow.
covered in it.
Yeah, you are.
It's beautiful.
It's wild. Guys, if you're not
special.
watching, if you're listening now and you're not listening on Spotify, switch over. If you look in the corner on Spotify of this episode, there's a little box and you can see me and Jena moving. If you click on that, you can watch us. You can watch the episode. And right now, the sun is streaming in so beautifully.
It's like a heart.
Yeah, it does genuinely look like a heart and a rainbow. It's gorgeous. Wow, wow, wow.
Sorry, squirrel.
No, it's good. So, we've kind of touched on, we've tangented around a lot of the themes of deconstruction, and we've talked a little bit about practices. I feel like I've heard you say, and I think maybe you'll agree, that fear is the biggest blocker to growth. I completely agree with that. How do you help people move through that fear while keeping them feeling safe in their bodies?
Okay, this is an excellent question, and I am going to do my best. And the reason that I say that is because so much of it is intuitive, but I'm not going to leave it there. It's just intuitive. That drives me crazy. But I will say that a lot of it is in the moment. I have all those tools, the pile, and figuring out which one to pull out for a person is a skill that is developed. But so the question is, what are ways that I help people feel safe in their body to allow them to ask the questions?
Yeah.
I think the biggest one is play. I think that I'm really good at facilitating play. And there's the 7, But play is so key, and there's science coming out. Science drives me nuts. I really love science, but it drives me nuts when we're science has proven that food is medicine. It's no, friggin' science didn't prove that. Indigenous people have known that for years, and now some white dude came along and was paid to research it, and now we're printing it in Psychology Today. Fuck off. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss.
You can. You're free. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
But anyway, that was a tangent.
An important one.
Yes, but play is, they're finding, one of the key pillars to working through trauma. And it makes so much sense to me, because let's think about when we're really laughing, and the experience that is in almost the catharsis at the end of a good laugh with your friends. and like it shakes up your whole belly and your chest, and your tears are water. Like there's this physiological experience happening. And the way that I see that is like fear feels like this dense ball that gets stuck and lodged in us. I'm very visual, so I feel bad for people who aren't maybe visual listening to this, but stick with me. And when we laugh, when we have a good play, when we move our bodies, when we move our breath, it's like, it's just shaking that up so that it can break up and we can have a little bit more space. All we need is a little inch, you know, the door, creak in a door. And in that space, we can breathe and we can observe a little bit more rationally, a little bit more separated from shame or the feeling of that heaviness. And maybe we don't need to get rid of the whole thing, but maybe there's a little piece that we're able to see more clearly and put off to the side so that the next time that ball kind of comes together, it's a little lighter and a little lighter and that type of thing. So yeah, I think play is a big one, and I think breath work and play really go hand in hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And of course they go hand in hand if you think about what your breathing's doing when you're laughing, for example, you know, like it's
like hatha.
Yeah. It's like so inherent. Wow. Yeah. I love that so much. And that is so evident in how you live your life and how you support people online and in your work. Definitely. Wow. I love that. I love that. So we've talked about evangelicalism. You know, she can't say that word still.
To be said out loud.
It is crazy, yeah. We know that that's left a mark on lots of people's journeys, yeah, beyond just you and me. I'm wondering how you have maybe integrated or repurposed or released those different experiences from church in your own practices.
Yes. I wonder if certain people are more prone to throw everything away, and maybe other types are more prone to hold on longer than they need to. And then perhaps there are types who can beautifully see everything objectively and logic through the reasons, you know.
You saw where I was going, Jena. Yes, great.
I'm with you. I think for me, and I'm going to honor my sixth wing here for a moment, or the sixth part. I think that there was I don't think it would have been possible for me to let everything go, nor is it necessary, all at once. And I think I was too scared of demons to let go of praying to Jesus for a while.
Yeah.
I thought the moment that I prayed to a different deity, or even just a vague deity, that I would manifest a demon, because that is what I was taught.
Yep.
Even though I'm a freaking logical woman,
yep.
I'm in the head I'm the head type.
You are.
Like the head type, because
yeah.
you know, the 5 and 6 connection. But still, that stuff goes beyond the head and into the body, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I didn't get rid of everything all at once, and still sometimes if I'm afraid, I do pray to Jesus.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. But then it's so funny, that black and white thinking. It's like, that doesn't mean that I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And I've sort of lost the plot line, but I think that's the biggest thing I had to say, is that I think people process it in their own way. But even just letting go of the idea, thank you, Evie. So I think that we learn a structure. We don't just learn ideas. We also learn structures to put them into. Mm-hmm. And with Christianity, especially evangelical Christianity, the plot line or the structure is a testimony. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I was this and now I'm that. Yeah. It's black and white.
Totally.
Here I was before Jesus, here I am after.
Totally.
And there's so many problems with that. One, because they're fucking boring stories. Think of a better plot. Seriously, I cannot sit for 4 hours at YWAM and listen to 20 19-year-olds tell me about how big sinners they were when they were 17. Yeah. Everybody was a big sinner when you're 17. That's the silliest, like bringing sand to the beach. Anyway, but it's like, it's also hard to let go of that narrative. Yeah. Because as you're leaving, you're prone to think, well, now I'm this, And I get accused of this all the time online, where they're like, oh, you went from one extreme to the other. It's like, it might look that way, that's fine, but I know my process, and it's been much slower and much more easygoing, and I'm not as harsh with myself, and I don't feel the need to put a stake in the sand everywhere I go. Yeah. It's much more fluid here.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Yeah, totally.
Do you like my little rants, Evie?
Yeah, of course I do. Yes, that's why it's the whole purpose of you being here. Your connection to authenticity is beautiful to witness and to be around it. Then it's that's 7-wing 8, 8-wing 7. It's my dad is an 8-wing 7, so I am aware of the rants. I love the rants. The rants keep us growing always. Okay, so we've talked about ritual, we've talked about play, but we haven't. We've kind of brought them into the conversation. Let's bring them in a bit more. Why? Why is ritual important, and how can it be used as this tool for transformation, and I use this word tentatively, healing?
Okay. Yeah.
When we're talking about, using that play in the healing spaces, and again, really tentative to use that word, because we could probably do a whole other episode on healers, or maybe we will. But yeah, why is ritual so important? What does that look like?
Thank you so much for asking, Evie. I have 2 definitions of ritual for you.
Great, let's hear them.
I really want you to be proud of me for this. This is the most research I've ever done for a podcast, including my own. So I have 2 definitions, and I brought both of these, and I think both of them are important because one of them is from a pagan point of view, which I do identify as a pagan. So this is from Margot.
Can you just tell us what you mean by saying that you identify as a pagan?
Totally. So like human sacrifices. I'm kidding.
Everyone is turning off. We've lost Evie.
I'm kidding.
Don't turn off.
I'm kidding.
We love to joke and play.
But also, be scared of me. No, so pagan to me means close to the earth.
Say more about that.
So as opposed to, I think paganism is a nature religion at its core.
Yeah.
There are a million, for every pagan that exists, if there's a million pagans, there's a million types of paganism because it's so bespoke. It's so your own path. Of course, there are different branches that you could identify more with. There's, druids, which is, I believe, from an Irish, that might be your ancestors then.
I believe so, yeah, because I do have some Irish in me.
Yeah.
If anybody couldn't tell by looking at me.
Oh, I love you. You're beautiful. And anyway.
Thank you.
I identify as a pagan witch, which is another layer of it. Not every pagan is a witch. Not every witch is a pagan. So, but those 2 to me put together is like I have a magical practice where I work with the physical world to manifest or bring about things in the physical and spiritual world. That's the witch part, and the pagan part just means I'm close to the land, and I honor the ways of our pre-Christian ancestors. So we all come from pagan roots. If we trace it far enough back, there was a time when our people, our land was uncolonized by Christian settlers, and all of those people practiced folk religions. Now, we don't need to copy and paste the things they were doing, because some of them were doing human sacrifices, and we're not doing that anymore. But I think that the connection to the land and finding our own way, it's sort of like taking the old ways, observing them, and seeing how we might bring them in our own way to this physical manifestation. That's what I mean by that.
Amazing. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Love that. Close to the earth. How gorgeous. Yeah. Powerful stuff.
Margot Adler is a really big voice in the modern pagan movement, and she's written this book, which I do recommend if people, I think this is a great starter book if you want to understand what paganism is and how it's come into the iteration that it is in America specifically, but also in the West in general. It's Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler. I will say I might recommend it more for the head types.
Sure.
Because it's a little bit textbooky, but it is good.
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
So she says, the purpose of ritual is to change the mind of the human being. It's a sacred drama in which you are the audience as well as the participant. And the purpose of it is to activate the parts of the mind that are not activated by everyday activity. Then magic becomes the development of the techniques that allow this communication with the hidden portions of the self and communication with all hidden portions within this psychic sea.
Very head type, Margaret. Thank you for that.
So let's give something for the 1s and 3s and 9s.
Thank you.
Yep. So here is a definition from organizational psychologists. And this is from The Rituals Roadmap by Erica Keswin. So, a study by organizational psychologists defines a ritual as a predefined sequence of symbolic actions, often characterized by formality and repetition, and here's the key part, that lacks direct instrumental purpose. So, there's no specific goal in mind in a sense of productivity. Okay. I always like to say, the way I differentiate a ritual is like from a routine. Both are important. Routines get us through the day. Rituals get us through life.
Very good.
Let's think about brushing your teeth versus lighting a candle and saying a prayer. Right? If an alien were to come in on that moment and observe to see what is the human race like, it would see that when we brush our teeth, there's an instrumental purpose. Oh, this prevents them needing to get dental work or their teeth falling out. And also, within the social development, people don't like bad breath. And so they're preserving social points. Okay, instrumental purpose. Okay, versus me lighting a candle and pulling a card. The human has ignited a candle and is now looking at pictures. There's no instrumental purpose there. And so that's like a big differentiation between the two. And as far as... Actually, I completely lost the plot of your question, but...
Oh, no, brilliant. I kept butting in. No, I kept butting in. I think the question was, why is ritual important and how can it be a tool for healing and transformation?
Right. So, ritual is important because it's very human. And that may seem a strange answer, but
it's
really,
not. It doesn't seem strange, because what I was thinking while she was speaking is all of the ritual that we have in church, and perhaps, the different ritual from other faith backgrounds. I'm thinking of Hanukkah, for example, because we had very close Jewish friends growing up, and I have been to a lot of Hanukkah parties and, kind of been involved with that ritual. I'm also thinking about getting married. I'm thinking about funerals. There's ritual within all of that, I think. And that's incredibly human. All of those things are, we kind of need, look for those moments, live for those moments.
We really do. Part of that is because, from my perspective, life doesn't have chapters unless we ritualize it. And if life doesn't have chapters, I just don't think we can do that. I don't think we can just be in a sea of experience without having meaning assigned and understood to it.
Yeah. And
to your point, Evie, we all do rituals.
Yeah.
We all sing, and maybe it's different in the UK, you can tell me, but we sing happy birthday when we have a cake for
sure.
a birthday.
For sure.
We go to funerals, and I think a beautiful thing about the age of Aquarius that we've just entered, you can Google that if you're not sure, it's a huge shift. The last 2,000 years we're in Pisces. We're entering a different era. I think the beautiful thing about that is that people are redefining rituals. But I think the warning I have in that is like, let's not let them go, because we still need to mark our time and space. And also, a ritual sets apart everyday life from this moment. Yeah. And I think we really desperately need that as a society. But we can redefine what they mean to us, you know. I don't want the Lord's Prayer read at my funeral, but I might want Norwegian funeral singers to sing me out on the flaming ship. I don't know. I'm not even Norwegian. I don't know if I have a right to that, but you know, it's just changing our ideas of that. But yeah, I mean, God, if you have anxiety, do rituals. Yeah. Because they're so helpful to focus your mind on one thing and to set apart this moment from other moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Love that. Ooh, so good. I hope I hope everyone else is enjoying this as much as I am. We could talk for the next 4 hours, I'm sure. We touched on it a little bit there, kind of talking about the last 2,000 years. You're really passionate about reconnecting to ancestral ways. You've kind of mentioned that throughout this conversation. I wonder what that looks like for you personally, if you would feel comfortable to share. And are there any practices or traditions that feel, you know, especially meaningful for you because of your lineage?
Beautiful. Yeah, so like many, you know, as a child, I just told people I was a mutt because I'm a mix of ethnic background. So my grandma immigrated to Canada from the Philippines when she was like 20. She met my grandpa there, who had fled from Latvia back when it was the USSR. So my roots are, you know, Filipino in the Southeast Asian, and then a lot of like northwestern and north central Europe. And I think my dad hates when I say this, but I don't really know why he hates when I say this. I really am very black sheep of the family.
Okay.
In many ways, one of them being that I think I'm the only one who gives a damn about where we come from. And so the reason I say that is because it's not like I have this family that's like feeding me ancestral ways and teaching me about where we came from. If someone has that, that's a beautiful resource and gift, you know. But at the same time, any research that I do, anything I do is very much mine. And so that feels empowering on its own.
Yeah.
So what that's looked like, I am aiming for Latvian citizenship, actually, because I can get it by descent.
Cool.
Because some countries in Europe do this, where
you
know, if your parents had to flee, then you're welcome back within certain generations.
Yes. Yeah.
But Latvia actually is so folk religion focused still. I'm very proud of this fact. They were one of the last countries to be Christianized because they were so deeply rooted in their folk ways. And still, like, it's so lovely. I looked up witchcraft on Pinterest one time, and the first photo that popped up was in Latvia. Wow. And so, you know, there are a lot of people out there practicing following the seasons. This is what kind of the old ways means, like following the seasons, honoring the land and the original gods of the land. So one of those, actually, in Latvia, this is kind of rare. The sun deity is a woman, is a goddess.
Whoa, yeah.
It's usually a male because sun energy is associated with penetration and like, just honestly.
And the 24-hour biological clock as well.
Right.
So
whereas the moon, menses.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So her name is Sauli. And once I learned that, it was really nice because I've always had a connection with the sun in some special ways that I won't necessarily go into here, but
Sure.
the way I've integrated that is like in my sunset, I do a sun salutation every morning. I go out and I greet the sun, and I'm greeting Sally, and it's so much fun, just that little ritual, you know, of I raise my hands up and I get to also feel the sun on my fingertips and like the air, even if it's freezing. And it helps me to also keep track of where we are in the seasons because it's so easy to be inside all the time.
Yeah.
And so this small ritual where I get to, one, like feel the air around me and how the changes are happening. And then I get to like honor my heritage and honor Sally. I always say good morning and do a sun sal. And then I go inside.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow, 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 wow. I think also as well, you know, when we think of kind of yoga as this, how much it's been westernized, when we think about doing sun salutations, we think about, you know, that's what we do as our warm up, like when we're like, and actually, no, we're actually talking about connecting to the sun, being aware of the seasons. Like that was the idea of the sun salutation. It's not
your
just
warm
to get
up
you
before
warm.
Missy
Yeah.
Elliott comes on.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's, if you want to warm up before missing, you know, that is good as well. Just, you know, let's just be aware of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And, you know, when I was on your podcast, we spoke about your mum a little bit. And I just wanted to give a moment to speak about, you know, the huge impact your mum has had on your life. And I'm, you know, bringing her into the conversation here because of wanting your desire to be connected to ancestral ways, and just want to, honor her here in this moment with you, if that feels good.
It almost always feels good.
Yeah, cool.
And thank you for bringing her up. Because my mom is she's probably the biggest person in my life. And certainly not because she was perfect or because I get warm fuzzies when I think about our time together. We had a very hard life together. She had borderline personality disorder, which was diagnosed post-mortem. And so growing up, I didn't know what normal was. And I didn't know, you know, I don't know what other people's moms are like. I don't know if and that made me question things too, because I was like, behind closed doors, you do not know how someone treats their family and that type of thing. Because on the outside, my mom was this force to be reckoned with. She was just life, you know, like she was funny. She had the loudest laugh. Everything she did was so loud. And that was so jarring for me as a child because I had anxiety and I wanted things to be quiet. And, but she was loud. She said the wrong thing. She was politically incorrect. She was the life of the party. You know, but a lot of people didn't see her inner world, but I did, of the borderline personality, the eggshells that everyone had to walk on, because you'd think she was impenetrable, that she was so tough, you know. But so she died when I was 20, just about to go on 21. And she did commit suicide. And that was, you know, I think we all maybe have a couple moments in life that really rock your world. And that moment really rocked my world. Yeah. And, you know, it's not like I didn't have trauma before that, as you can imagine, but it was this moment that stole language from me and stole a lot of the parts of my personality. And I think that that's an important part of grief that sometimes gets missed, is that you don't just lose a person, you lose everything. Like, depending on how close and how bad that experience is, it's like,
yeah,
you know, I lost my ability to make one-liners. And that's how I would get around and out of social situations, was with humor. And so I didn't have that anymore. I was just very raw and like taking everything very literally. And I just didn't have the energy. And so that time in my life, it was like gray and black, like, and of course it was such an interesting, hard time being 20, that's usually a time of self-discovery and, being at college, or uni, as you guys call it. And so, and then it took many years of also deconstructing and becoming safe with myself to reconnect with my mother beyond the grave and my mother as a spirit guide for me. And it also took trust as well because, it's like, where's the line of delusion versus spiritual gifts? And that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that at the end of the day, I came to these realizations in meditation and that Reiki space that I told you about.
Yeah.
Where I realized that my mom, she was still very much active in my life. And I am not an everything happens for a reason type of person. I will never say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes shit happens because chaos abounds.
Yeah.
And so.
Totally.
And a lot of harm is done with that phrase as
huge.
well.
Yeah. Huge.
I think I heard it a couple times from people and I was like, when right after my mom died and I was like, oh, really? Yeah. That's great. I'm glad that, whatever. So, but my mom made a choice, even if she was not good in the head. And like, I believe that there was some good that comes out of that choice. And I think the choice that she made was that for the rest of my life, that she would be helping me more. And I know it's not just me centric, but for my mom, a lot of her life was about me and she cared about me so much because that was her outlet.
Of course. Yeah, of course, Jena.
And so I feel like some part of her made a choice where for the rest of my life, she would be guiding me in a different way and that she couldn't, and beyond just me, I feel like there's something, I think she wanted to be free,
Yeah.
And if there's a spectrum inside me where on one side I'm like, well, I hope that she got it. I hope that she has got what she wants.
Yeah.
God, I hope so. She did the most extreme way to like be free type of thing.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the spectrum is like this deep understanding and deep connection with her. But she's an excellent protector, as you might imagine. And she's also an excellent guide. And I've received understanding that she actually, and this gives me chills. I'm going to tell you a quick story, Evie. Like, my mom guides people who have just died into the beyond and into the afterlife. And my dad's best friend, Derek, died a couple of years after my mom. Him and my mom were not close at all. They didn't go to school together or anything, but they knew each other. And apparently when Derek was dying and my dad was sitting with him as he took his last breaths, Derek started becoming more lucid and was like, Michelle, that's my mom's name, and was like calling out to her. And I had already, it was really reaffirming because I'd already had that thought that my mom did that role for people and that she guided people like into the afterlife. And then my dad told me that story and I was like, oh, that's so affirming. Totally. There was no other Michelle in his life, and so yeah, that's, I don't really have any, that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, that's.
I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, well, you shared, as you always do, so beautifully. And when I was thinking about your work and thinking about, how much a part of your work is connection to ancestors, and, having heard you speak about your mum and have spoken with you about your mum, wonderful Michelle, it is kind of like this love letter. Every time that you're speaking about ancestral work, it feels like this open love letter that you and your mum have, that the rest of us get to watch, be a part of, connect to. And so I say that, and I make a point of saying that, on the podcast, because, if you are working through grief, whatever that looks like, Jenna's work is really, really supportive. Or should I say, Jena and Michelle's work is really, really supportive. And that's not because I'm Jenna's friend. We've actually never met in real life.
You are my good friend, but yes.
Right. Yeah, that really is, if you're working through whatever level of grief, there might be something there for you if you've never explored, kind of ancestral work. And that can look like 1,000 different things, as you've shared, Jena, with pulling lots of things out of your toolbox and there being lots there. But the way that you do it does feel like this open love letter. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I also wondered if you had a thought on what Enneagram type you thought your mum might have been or is.
I have thought about this. I used to think that she was a 7 because, I don't know, she's crazy. But I think maybe she was a 2.
Yeah.
So she was an ER nurse.
Yeah.
And she would never come home at a reasonable hour because she'd be staying for hours with patients because they needed help.
Yeah.
They needed some extra support.
Yeah.
She actually won an award for that. It was called and the award itself, when I was reflecting, I was like, oh my God, she was a 2. It was called the Hero's Heart. And I'm like, that's a freaking 2. And the thing is, she did need to be needed. She really needed to be needed in a way that suffocated me as a 7, as a child, where I was
sure.
I would like to hang out with you, but I cannot need you to need me to need you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I just wanted to, I just was wondering because, that I wondered if she was a 2 or an 8 because of that, connection to being that kind of life force energy, that I wondered, I bet she's a 2.
Yeah,
but that
you're right.
the 8 was, really loud and really, part of her journey here on Earth. In human form.
Now help me out. Does 2 go to 8 in, I know that it's fluid, but in unhealth or health?
I mean, essentially you can go there in both.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's both. It's
yeah, because I can see both for her as well.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is my dad is an 8.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And okay, so sorry, my dad's an 8 and my mum's a 2.
I know.
How weird.
No, Evie, that's crazy. Okay, interesting. But in my childhood, the way that I survived was by skirting around adults and getting out of the room. And you must have had a different pathway to become a 1.
Yeah.
To be a 1.
Yeah. Although that lost...
And maybe you weren't escaping. It's not everyone's childhood.
Sure. And there's also that kind of lost childhood message as well that, people that grow up as 1s, as children were 7s. But they lost that.
I love this theory.
Yeah. And so, people that grow up as 7s, as children, they were 5s. And so that makes a lot of sense that you were trying to get out of the room, contextually, sure, but also just from an Enneagram theory point of view. 5s just want to be in their own world, right?
Evie, I had a magnifying glass and a leapfrog and... Literally, all I wanted was for the house to shut up so that I could sit in a sunny spot and look at the threads on my jeans for hours.
This is why I back the lost child Enneagram theory so deeply.
Oh yeah, I was definitely a 5. I literally just wanted to objectively sit in a bird's nest and read. But everyone kept disturbing me, and so I needed to perform to ungrateful audiences.
Oh. Gosh, just let the girl read, for crying out loud.
Let me garden. I just wanted to be my grandmother.
Yeah.
And quick note, it's a love letter to my mother, but it's also, the love letter keeps expanding. And I think that's
Oh.
the beautiful thing about letting yourself be imaginative in your spirituality and letting yourself believe that maybe your ancestors still care about you and that they still want to be involved, because you really do heal your lineage and you bring joy to your ancestors. And so for me, it's like, you know, I just got a weight vest for CrossFit because I have to get buff to punch Nazis now in my country. So that was never on my bingo card, but you know, I'm working
Nor
on it.
mine, but yeah, yeah, I'll get buff too
Thank you, Evie.
to
I
support.
would
Yeah.
love that. So anyway, I bought a weight vest, and a weight vest, you can customize it and you can put patches on it. And so I'm getting patches done that say on the back. So anytime I'm working out with this on, it says for my mother and her mother and her mother. And just like, you know, I feel that the work that we do, even if you don't know about your ancestors, any work that you do to like work on regulating, that shit goes way far back. Even with just gut biome, you inherited your gut biome from your mother, and your mother was inside her mother, so you were inside your grandmother, like, you know. And so I just can't imagine, if we believe that energy is not created nor destroyed but rather transferred, I just can't imagine that if I had these problems, you know, and then I still exist in some form, and I see my great-great-granddaughter fucking crushing it and like making that not a problem for the rest of our descendants, I can't imagine that I wouldn't feel overjoyed and released, you know, like, so this work is, I see it as, so it's never alone, you know, you're like, you're healing your ancestral line, you're healing the land by becoming close to it and understanding honorable harvest and not taking more than you need, and connecting with the trees and the animals. It's like, all of a sudden you realize that it's not just you and this objective God daddy in the sky. It's like you are in this matrix and this web of interconnectivity between all living creatures here and no longer here. And you're never alone.
Yeah. Wow. What an incredible place to maybe come to pause for today. You'll have to come back if we could possibly steal more time from you, Jena. There's a million more questions that I'm sure we'd all love to ask you. This has been such an expansive, such a spacious, beautiful, gorgeous conversation, and I thank you so deeply. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all of these different parts of you with us and allowing us to really see the type 7 at work and in play and what that looks like. It's been an absolute joy to share this time with you. Just before we close for today, would you like to tell us a little bit about what work you've got going on at the moment and how perhaps the rest of us could all immediately get involved?
Yes, absolutely. I want to do one precursor before I share what I'm doing, because I think we talked about this, but I never said it directly. I mean, I think it's implicit in everything I've said, but like when I do work with even one person or small groups, the aim of it is to create resilient communities. And so I say that because it's like, I think that there's a real tendency to become hyper-focused on self-care, especially as white women in the wellness, you know? And I think I know you're on board with this too, but it's like, it's not just self-care to exist, to stay where we are alone in a bubble. You know, you work on yourself in community and for community. And my goal is, I think we need desperately a revolution. And we don't, I think we're seeing that we don't want these old white men to be in charge of anything, of everything anymore. And so I've been, you know, in the spirit of revolution, let's create micro communities all over the world of people that are doing the work to heal their lineage and to heal their own like emotional regulation. And I know that's a buzzword too, but it's important. We can't do, you're much more powerful when you're calm. And even if that's calmly channeling rage, I love to see a 5 or an 8, you know, or a 9. Holy cow, that would shake the whole world. I'm not even kidding.
For sure.
To see a 9 channeling rage in a concentrated way. But so with that said, the ways that you can work with me to change the world and start a revolution, if that seems interesting to you. Let's see. The starter would be following me on Instagram. I'm Joy Play. At least that's what I am at the moment. You can find me there. I have a podcast, Little Ritual. You can work with me one-on-one. I do exclusively virtual at the moment energy sessions that range from 30 to 90 minutes. And I think they're quite affordable. I've made them that way. And I would love to work with people, especially if you're kind of spiritually curious about this whole ancestral witchcraft stuff. If something like unlocks and it feels like, you know, that feeling of like, oh, I wish I could have that, or like longing or release, I feel like that's a really key indicator that we could work well together. And then the last thing I'll say, which I'm so excited about, is that actually right after we record this, I'm going onto Instagram and I'm posting that my retreat is live.
Wow.
So it's my first retreat in the United States. And it's a witchcraft retreat. It's all women. It's going to be August 1st through the 3rd, which is the holiday of Lammas in the pagan wheel of the year. And that's the first harvest that sets off many other harvests leading up to Samhain being the final one. So we're going to Hancock, New York. It's just an hour and a half outside the Syracuse airport. So think woods, river. It's right next to the Delaware River. And we're staying in an old schoolhouse that got renovated to be like an Airbnb with tons of rooms and just like lovely space and an outdoor fire pit. And we're going to spend 3 days together doing rituals and freaking healing one another through story and space and honoring the goddess and getting to know some of these tools that I have piling up that I really need to share because they're getting heavy on my backpack. And yeah, we're going to do that. We have a private chef, which is actually one of my good friends, the Enneagram 1, who has already come to me with a million questions that I don't have the answers to. So yeah, it's called the Golden Circle Retreat. It just got launched. I have 4 early bird spots only. I only do small retreats. There will be 9 people maximum. So the first 4 people save $150 off of the price, and that's live on my website, joyplay.org, and it's also in the link in my bio. So,
and it'll be the link. Yeah. It'll be in the link of these show notes as well.
Oh, rock definitely. On.
Fab. Amazing. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Jena. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited for all of the different work that you're doing. And I can't wait for you. I can't wait for you to come back and for us to chat some more. I'm thankful for everybody that's listened today. If you liked this episode, leave a comment, leave a review, or send it to somebody that you think might like to listen to it.
And you should also consider signing up for Evie's spring equinox journaling, because I'll be there, so we can meet each other virtually.
That is true. Yeah. I think when this episode goes out.
Oh shoot! Is it already?
No. I think it'll be like a few days away. So.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, perfect for remembering. Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing my job for me. Brilliant. Okay, come and see me and Jena at my spring equinox meditation journaling event. Pick our brains there, or go find Jena on Instagram, as she said. Thank you so much for listening to today, guys. We will see you very, very soon. Bye. If Guided the podcast resonated with you, why not share it on your socials or send it to your friends? And if you have a spare moment, I would love it if you could leave me a review. These small gestures are free, and they're invaluable in helping me amplify the reach of Guided the podcast, connecting us with more empowered women who are eager to increase their well-being. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop with our latest episodes. By subscribing, you'll stay connected and receive a weekly dose of inspiration directly to your inbox. Thank you for being a part of our community, for showing up, and for your commitment to personal growth and self-discovery. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and keep exploring the depths of your own inner wisdom.